meet mental health needs for both teachers and students. It really wants, okay, there we go. I am a French teacher at West Ada High School. Like I said, I'm also national board certified in world languages other than English, and I'm an AIM certified teacher. AIM is something from a program from Canada that does basically it's CI, but there's a curriculum that you can follow. So it's helpful to me. So we're going to start with an example. And so I did my student teaching with a really well-known French teacher who is an amazing teacher. And she came really highly recommended. And so I did a lot of what she did because it's like, well, she's an amazing teacher, so I should do what she does. And one thing she did was she had this little participation tracker and she called it Le Set. And I decided to change it to La Soupe du Jour to, you know, add a little bit of me to it. And basically the kids would do their introductory set, which is what they used to call that, for each day of the week. And then they would keep track of their own participation points. And it was a way to reward kids and be like, you're amazing, give yourself a point, you know. But I also I used it for years. And I would spend Friday afternoons grading all of them, putting them all in the grade book. It took a lot of time. And I had to look at this practice at one point and say, is this really helping them? Is this really helping me? Do I need to kind of upend this system that I've been using for a really long time? Because I don't know that it's actually helping anyone. Because really the super motivated kids would give themselves lots of points and they would get a great participation score, but kids that were learning wouldn't. They wouldn't give themselves the points, or they wouldn't turn it in, or they would be affecting their grade. Their grade would be lower by a couple letter grades because they hadn't turned in the Monday, the days of the week part. So one day I really just had to sit down with myself and say, hey self, what's going on here? Is this really a practice that's helping students learn more French? And it went the wayside. We don't use it anymore. I now have the students start out with a daily reflection sheet where they write down the day, the date, and our objective. And then they bring it back out at the end of class and they circle yes or no to the objective and write one word that they've learned. That helps kids learn more French. And so I just wanted to give an example of we're all on a journey, and that journey doesn't really have any bad places on it, but you have to start somewhere. So wherever you are on that journey is the right place for you to be right now. And what we're going to talk about today is, well, where's that journey going for you? Okay, so no judgment about what your systems are or what your habits are, because it's all just part of the journey. And so what I hope that you come away with today is to be able to reflect on where you are in that journey and ways of making it easier for yourself and for your students. So our session objectives for today is to talk about teacher mental health needs, student mental health needs, and then talk about tips for aligning instruction with standards while also cutting workload. Because it turns out that the more standards-based your class is, the less the workload is for all of you, which is kind of the brilliance of the actual standards. I really kind of think that they're a work of genius. So what are teacher needs? You would like to have weekends free. I don't think there's any teacher out there that actually wants to work on weekends. You would like to have evenings free. There's a lot of really good Netflix shows out there and nobody wants to be missing them. You would like to go home in the afternoon, 4, 4:30, maybe 5, but you would like to have your afternoons free. I'm just going to say that about you. You're here because you want afternoons free, even though it's afternoon and you're here right now. And you would like to have the energy to focus on what's important and the desire to start anew each day. You don't want to be dreading going to work because you worked so much the day before that you're just totally drained. In other words, we don't want to be wearing this t-shirt, straight out of energy, teacher life. No, we do not want that to be us. So let's talk about student needs. Students need to learn. That's why they're here. They need to grow as humans. They need to have fun. They need to be intellectually stimulated, hopefully in a way that makes them more proficient. They need to have life opportunities, and they need to have free time to do other things besides school. So we're going to go back to the teacher, and then we're going to return back to the student in a little bit. So where do us teachers spend our time? We spend it on grading, planning, and doing what you're doing right now, professional development. So we're going to go into each one of these things. What are some tips to make those things take less time? So we're going to start with grading. These are my systems for making grading take less time. I've been teaching for 20 plus years. I lose track, 22 years maybe. And in my classes over the years, this has changed a lot, but I have learned that homework in levels 1 and 2 once a week is sufficient. And I make sure that I give them something that takes no more than 10 minutes, and it's only graded on 1 point based on completion. In other words, I'm not really grading it. In fact, what I was doing right before this session was I was going through the Quizlet report from this week and just checking off who did their Quizlet practice. Does it make them more proficient? Absolutely. It helps them. If they don't do it, they're not going to be that affected by it. For my level 3s and 4s, they have homework 2 to 3 times a week. Generally, I kind of cut it back to 2 times a week because my third assignment wasn't really helping them. Also graded on completion. And I'll tell you about what those activities look like. And so then we have tests and assessments. My trick for tests and assessments is all of my listening, reading, and culture assessments are either multiple choice or matching. In other words, I can make a key and either hand them off to my TA or get an entire classes graded in less than 3 minutes. And for writing and speaking, I do speaking assessments in class. So it's never going to be grading outside of class, with the exception of the AP kids that have to do the recordings. And writing, I only grade 2 to 3 writing assessments per semester with a code to help them like make their writing better. And then I use rubrics. So it's like everything, including I don't grade on points at all, even if it's multiple choice or matching. It's 4, 3, 2, 1, and I can just circle it and move on. Sometimes I underline some things in the rubric to give them specific feedback, but I don't need to write anything. Maybe I'll write nice job, great start, love your tone, maybe one positive comment, but I don't spend a lot of time giving comments because it's right on the rubric. When in doubt, use the lens of proficiency. What is the lens of proficiency? Basically, everything I do, I look at it through this lens and I say, does this project, homework, or activity help my students to become more fluent in my language? And if it doesn't, we get rid of it. I think you may have heard me just say we used to do 3 homework assignments per week in level 3, and I cut it back to 2. And that's because I was having them write 5 sentences, and then I was running around and trying to code 1 sentence per kid. It wasn't really helping them. I wasn't able to give them appropriate feedback, and it was kind of just busy work. So I got rid of it. Now, last year we did Desmos a lot, and that's a great way that I can give them feedback on the spot, and they can write their sentences on the spot. And it's a lot more meaningful. It makes them more proficient, and it took something off of their plate. That's one more night that they don't have homework. So to do that, I make sure that I always grade only based on standards. So what does that mean? We're looking at the actual standards, communication, cultures, connections, comparisons, communities, communication obviously being the biggest one. And what are we going to get rid of if you're grading only based on standards? You're going to get rid of any fill-in-the-blank verb conjugation, especially on tests. If you want to practice with that, that's totally great. We do conjugamos in level 3 and AP and level 4 to help them with conjugation. Conjugation is a big thing and they do need to work on it. But in level 1 and 2, I find it kind of gets in the way of their proficiency if we spend time on that. So instead we focus on the singular forms, and then at the end of French 1, we do the plural form. But other than that, I never would test them on conjugation. Then I don't have to grade it. Helps them, helps me. Huge projects that take forever to design, take students forever to do, take forever to grade, and don't lead to higher proficiency levels. I have a project story for this one. When I was about 10 years into teaching, I lived in Ecuador and I was an English teacher. And I really wanted to hold my kids accountable for reading this book that we were reading. So I was like, all right, what's something that I did in school that helped hold me accountable for reading something? Oh yeah, that's right. We read, now I can't remember the name of it. Not the Iliad, but the other one. And anyway, the teacher asked us to draw a comic for each of the little chapters. It's like, oh, there you go. So, all right, for this book, I want you to draw a little comic for each chapter. So I had a student turn hers in. She had like 50 comics strong. They were gorgeous, beautifully drawn, beautifully designed. Writing was perfect. And I said, this is gorgeous. And she said, thanks. It took me 50 hours. And I was like, what? That wasn't my intent, but oh, that's right. You're someone that really cares about the quality work that you do. And guess what? It kind of held them accountable for what was in the stories, but they could have asked their friends what happened in those chapters and still drawn the little things. So it's like, all right, I'm kind of done with projects. We do a couple of little culture projects, but in general, we don't do projects because they almost never lead to higher proficiency, and they're a lot of work. Okay. Gone are long tests with pages of grammar work and counting of points. Actually worked for a university here that wanted you to count quarter points based on the quality of the grammatical errors. I was like, yeah, no, that's okay. We'll just do something else. We do AP now instead of that. Reading, scoring, giving feedback on every piece of writing they do. So now it's good just to write for writing's sake, and then just focus on a couple of pieces of writing. Definitely walking away from grading daily work that doesn't lead to improved proficiency, like my soup du jour that I just showed you, or just anything that they do in class, you know. No grading exit tickets, entry tickets, lottery tickets, speeding tickets, concert tickets, bus tickets. You get my point. You don't have to grade it. If they're doing it, you can say there's the recycle bin on the way out when they try to give it to you. They're not going to mind. So what about planning? How can I make planning take less time? For my planning, which is what I spent most of today doing, I try to stay on top of my organizational systems. For example, I have a plan book, and that's what I really spent today working on. I was setting up my whole year. I have an Excel spreadsheet that has my major assessments and the number of points, and that's how I make sure that they're balanced by standard. And then I made sure that I had a place for all of those in my long-term plan book. So that way, when I'm going to do my daily plans, I can look and most of the stuff I need is already there. Oh, that's right. Today I'm going to start introducing activities. Okay, note to self, find that PowerPoint that I made a couple years ago about activities. Also keeping everything that you do that's good so that you can find it again next year. And for me, that just involves how do I name things and how do I put them in folders? So I've learned, for example, in AP, I have my folders divided by unit. There's 6 units. And then within each unit, I have a different folder for, one is for articles and listening. And in that one, I name it based on the title or what it's about and whether or not it's an article or a listening, because I try to match them up so that each week we do one article and one listening. All I have to do is open that folder and everything is there for me. Having a daily or weekly structure where you just fill in the details can also be helpful. In that class, for example, on Monday, I give out an article. First thing we do is talk about 10 words. Next thing we do is read the article. That's our homework that night to annotate the article. The next day we discuss the article and do some kind of activity where we process the article. And on Wednesday, we do writing practice. And on Thursday, we do the listening that goes with the article that I already have in that folder. And, you know, I'm usually fleshing out one thing every year. Today, I spent an hour doing a better job making a culture presentation for the family unit. And then beg, borrow, and steal. There's a lot out there that can make your life easier. For example, I put all of my AP units, articles, and listenings online for anybody that wants them to borrow them. What about professional development? As always, you want to keep it simple. One in, one out. So you might have gone to a lot of presentations this week and been really inspired to try a lot of new things. Make sure that for everything you add in, you're going to pull out something else that's can't be adding more. You're already filling your time. Also, this is really important and really hard to do. As teachers, we're professionals. We feel like we're getting paid, and that means we should be perfect. But when you're trying new things, you're by definition not going to be perfect. There's a learning curve. So if you really want to get better, you have to be okay with kind of being like our novice low students and not doing it right the first time. Just keep it fun. They'll forgive you that it wasn't the best and that the next time you do it, it will be better. And that was really hard. That's probably my biggest challenge as a teacher, is being willing to try new things and not do them very well the first time and then getting better at them as I've tried more. Don't forget to ask for help. What about student mental health? That's what it's really about, right? So let's look at today's best student. Today's best student is dealing with sports, volunteering, gender identity. It's not something that we had to really talk about, at least not most of us, right? Clubs, relationships, work, family, grades, college, homework, social media, politics, community violence, time management, news, alcohol, body changes, sexuality, consent, zits, stress. That's not even a complete list. And it's not just today's best students. It's all students. Whoa, I'm just stressed even just showing you that slide. All right, so what can we do? We're actually part of the problem, y'all. Poignant pause. We are. When we give them needless amounts of homework or projects that don't make them more fluent, we are contributing to their stress and we're making their lives harder, and it's not benefiting them. So we're going to go back to that lens of proficiency. Just remember that a rich, comprehensible, in-class experience means out-of-class work is largely unnecessary, especially for levels 1 and 2. And it also makes your classes more accessible and more equitable for all students. More kids will be successful if your class is more proficiency-based in class and less go home and study harder. You just have to memorize. And it makes it so that you can take the time that you need to be happy and healthy. We got this, y'all. Thanks for watching. So let me come back out here and stop sharing my screen. And is it going to let me stop the recording so y'all can ask some questions? I'm going to try. Yes, stop recording. Well, now maybe we can keep going recording because maybe your questions will help people. So I'm guessing you have some questions for me. Tell me, what can I help you with? It's okay if you don't. Yes, Brandon, good to see you. I have another presentation on CIEE that I'll be starting in like 5 minutes. But yeah, any other questions? Any questions? Ashley, hi.
Hi, I was wondering, oops, seems like it's echoing.
I don't hear an echo.
Okay, do you grade oral stuff for French 1 and 2?
Oral stuff?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Like,
yes. For the first quiz, I basically go up to kids a day while they're writing down the objective, and I just do the quick, hi, how are you? What's your name? That's the first quiz. Second quiz is the day of a test, and it's basically, I just ask them a question that we've been practicing, like, what do you like to do? You know, and then like, if they don't know, then I do oral grades, but I only do 3 a semester.
okay, I do something similar. Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Thanks, Ashley. Ashley works at the middle school that comes to our school, and we love her.
I have a question, especially when it having to do with oral type quizzing. I do have a student in class who I believe she has autism, and it's not fair to her that she's not able to articulate things correctly, and I'm really stuck on that. I'm not sure what to do, and I've reached out. We only have another Spanish teacher at the school, but he doesn't know either what to tell me on what would be best.
I guess it depends on the student. You know, I mean, I've had kids with autism in the past that are really high functioning, and I can grade them the same as I grade other kids. But I have one student right now who is very low functioning, and I'm her only mainstream class. And if I can see that she's learned something, I give her a 2. And then that way it becomes a pass-fail class for her and she passes. But like, you want to keep it fair, you know, like all kids are not going to meet the same standards. If it's a severe student, that kid's not going to be applying to colleges anyway. Like, you don't really have to worry that, you know, their GPA will be inflated if they do okay in your class.
Okay. Yeah, and she's a senior, so yeah, it's just kind of like,
let them learn. Are they learning? Give them the learning grade. That's all that really matters.
Okay, thank you. That's good. That's good to know.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, I don't know how many folks are here. Why don't I stop the recording and then I'm going to join back in and that will restart the recording so that I can do my other presentation, which is about my City Abroad program. Okay, so you're welcome to stay. I have to leave and come back for the recording. I guess I can stop it and restart. No, I'm going to leave and come back. No, I can stop and restart it. I'm going to stop the recording. Okay, then I have to leave. That'd be silly. Stop recording.